There's something in our quarantine house with us. Part 3. Lockdown Day. 2:44. The past 24 hours have not gone well. Rachel never showed last night. I stayed up all night waiting for her. Even Ryan showed some concern about the time she was supposed to be back. I tried calling her when my phone got a signal, but hers did not connect. I don't know where she is. I don't know what happened to her. I do know that we're running low on food, and for now at least, no one here could safely or legally exit the house to make a second attempt at gathering supplies. Deliveries for staples were also running 2 or 3 weeks behind in order. While we had water so far, food would definitely run short in that timeline. Of course, Devon's only contribution to the crisis at hand was to point out that Rachel was gone. And with her being gone, her food was up as fair game, if the rest of his supplies ran short. He went on to divulge that he wasn't certain who cut up all the masks, but it was suspicious that only Rachel had hers intact. He wasn't convinced it was Ryan. I was shocked to hear him say that since only 2 days ago, he was furious about the dice roll. Not to mention, Rachel and I had gone the last time, and had absolutely no interest in going again. Devon sneered and blurted out that he didn't like bitches taking care of him, that he took care of bitches. I sat around the den most of the day with my phone pressed against the window. I was trying to get a signal. When I got a signal, I called the National Hotline for Victims. I was routed around an automated system, a real maze, trying to get through the viral public safety camp to see if the National Guard picked up Rachel. It occurred to me that maybe her mask was also damaged and fell apart during her supply run. Or perhaps she got caught up in a dragnet this time when somebody sneezed close to her, like what almost happened last time. I never got through to any person, nor could I leave a message. I don't know if she's been interned. I was about to try to call her for the 10th time that day when an unknown number rang on my phone. I picked it up and asked, "Rachel?" A panicked woman's voice came back. "Rachel? Is this Rachel?" The caller was Rachel's mother. Apparently she got a cryptic voicemail message from Rachel, and that she could no longer reach her. I was one of Rachel's emergency contacts. I had to break the news to her mother. Her daughter, her only child, was missing. It was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. All I could hear was her mother sobbing, "Oh my God," again and again before the call went dead. The signal did not return to my phone for the rest of the day. Although I felt absolutely terrible for her mother, I did realize that there was some good news in this. Sometime recently, Rachel was able to get a call out to her mother and leave a message. They didn't let you call out from the camps, so maybe she needed to hide or found shelter somewhere, but just couldn't contact me or anyone else here for some reason. It wasn't long after this that I heard a bunch of glass start to break upstairs in Ryan's bedroom. After it started, I heard Ryan start calling out my name. "Chen! Chen!" What started as loud calls ended as panicked, tearful screams for help. I ran to the staircase and looked up to his wooden door. Ryan's wooden door was shut. In the light at the top of the staircase, I saw something unnerving. On the wooden grain of the door, I saw a morphing outline of a figure pulsate and gestate in the grain of the wood. Like the entire grain morphed and shifted into a tall, dark outline of a person before it seemed to turn its head, and 2 of the knots of the wood shifted in line with each other, making eyes of whatever figure was manifesting there. I froze in fear, tingling from head to toe with terror, wondering if this was a nightmare. I pinched myself on the arm, and I felt the pain prick on my forearm. The door, the grain, and all the knots seemed to go back to where they were, and the outline of the mysterious figure vanished. The wall on the right side of the stairwell seemed to bulge and ripple slightly in a wave that dissipated a few steps from the bottom where I stood. I felt a gust of wind as if somebody ran past me. Ryan's screaming persisted, and although I wasn't sure if I was sleeping or not, I also wasn't sure what the hell was going on. I was worried about Ryan, so I charged up the stairs. I nearly jumped out of my skin when his door opened and I saw Ryan, bloodied, covered in shards of glass, holding a long shard of a broken liquor bottle in his right hand and a knife in the other. He charged down the stairs in a fitful fury. I was too horrified by everything to take any kind of defensive measures, and I was grateful he just simply pushed me out of the way and ran past me on the staircase, crying out, "Did you see him? Did you see him?" He was too powerful. "There's something in here with us. He's in here with us, Chen. We have to leave. You and me. We have to go. Chen, we have to go now." I came to the realization that he was utterly mad, and he didn't want to hurt me or Devin, but whatever he saw, whatever happened, he was determined to break out of the house and fight off anyone who stopped him from leaving the property without protection. With weapons and without a mask, he was a dead man. I grabbed his knife holding hand as he repeatedly tried to operate the front doorknob without success. I tore the knife from his grip, while I managed to snap the shard as he precariously wielded it against the door. At that point, Devin, wiping his eyes clear of sleepy blurriness, rounded the hallway into the den and looked at us at the front door. He added to the cacophony with loud and urgent requests to know what the hell was going on. As Ryan's capacity to express himself continued to deteriorate, and after 2 more attempts to lunge for his knife, Devin and I managed to corner him, back him into the basement, where we locked him down with makeshift door jams and barricades. I told Devin what was going on. Well, everything except for what I saw in the grain of the wooden door. Ryan's yelling turned hoarse and then faded into a low, sobbing whimper. The consoling answer was the easy answer. The seeds of Ryan's low-key college alcoholism had finally bloomed into a deeper mental illness. It took some courage, but Devin went up to Ryan's bedroom and I followed him. The door was open. His room was filled with broken bottles. Later in the evening, Ryan's cries and sobbing had all but ceased, and then came his more rational pleas for food and alcohol. The thing was, Ryan had broken all the beer and the liquor he had in his room. Every bottle was shattered, and every can was broken open and poured out. Ryan spoke to the slit of the door. He put on a brave face and declared he could quit whenever he wanted anyways. I gulped. I believed at the time he would be faced with a difficult dependency and perhaps a dangerous withdrawal syndrome. This made Rachel's quick return even more essential to keep him stable and hopefully out of the hospital. When I asked him about what happened, Ryan told me to check his phone. He left it running in video record mode during his assault. He told me the code to unlock his phone, even though he said it was likely still recording, and it would play back without the code. I went back to the staircase to go up to his bedroom. I stopped and gasped when I thought I saw the same dark figure at the top of the dimly lit stairs again. Then the bright flash of a phone screen illuminated Devin against the closed door. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then Devin threw Ryan's phone over my head. It cracked and skidded on the floor. Devin sauntered down the rest of the stairs and went back to his bedroom. His face was white and pale, and the only words he shared with me were, "You're better off not watching that. I'm going back to sleep." It was almost 10 p.m., and Rachel's been gone almost 2 days now. Lockdown day, 2:45. I had another weird dream. It was a short dream. I wasn't able to sleep much between keeping all the lights on, perhaps to ward off whatever thing might be in the house, perhaps to make the house look more welcoming for a wayward Rachel. I dreamed that I was alone in this house, but the house was on a deserted island. It was bright and sunny, and all around were sandy beaches. There was no one else. No Rachel, no virus, no tanks, no streets. No convoys of ice cream truck corpse mobiles. I was surveying the backyard when I noticed a man with a parachute tangled up in the trees. As he cut himself free and fell a few feet to the ground, he leapt back to his feet, pulling a flask from his hip pocket and put it to his lips. For some reason, he spoke with a thick English accent and offered me a drink. I was too polite, and I accepted, and I braced myself for the sharp burn of what I could only assume to be whiskey. But I found the flask to be empty. From a long angle, I watched myself run into the house, and then return with 2 shot glasses and a bottle of clear liquid. I assumed it was some kind of liquor that I brought, but it was odd I didn't know what it was, that I was serving what I can only describe as a very English Ryan. I poured 2 shot glasses, while smiling wide. English Ryan made a long, rambling toast, and then took the shot. I put the shot glass close to my face, but I didn't drink it. I didn't sip it. I didn't even put it to my lips. I knew what I poured him wasn't liquor. It was something far more deadly. As he clutched his throat and then gripped his gut as if he had dropped a dagger from his mouth down into his esophagus. He curled into a ball and writhed in pain while I stood there. Eventually I poured out my shot onto his face while his mouth was open and while he was wailing. Then I broke the bottle over his head, silencing him. I woke up sweating. I had fallen asleep in my clothes. They were soaked through. I unlocked the door to my bedroom for whatever good that was doing me, and I walked around to see if somehow Rachel had returned, and there was no sign of her. I felt like I needed to do something, so I started to haphazardly clean the den and the kitchen. I was careful to not disturb the jerry-rigged barricades which kept Ryan safely in the basement, preventing him from hurting himself. A little quarantine within a quarantine, actually. I opened the fridge to clean it out, only to be painfully reminded that so far everyone had been doing their part. So far in this regard, in so many different words. There were no eggs. There was no milk. There were some onions, some probiotic yogurt, a couple of apples, a third of a jug of orange juice, some random sauces and condiments, and some random takeaway leftovers from a very long time ago. The cabinets were doing a little better. A grim realization swept over me, and I retired from cleaning the kitchen. I picked up Ryan's broken phone and noticed the memory card was exposed but intact. I decided to swap it into my laptop to see if I could recover the video that Ryan recorded. My laptop said it'd be able to reformat the card and retrieve any corrupted data, but it wanted many hours to try. I had little use for my laptop right now, so I let the program run. And I tapped my fingers anxiously, waiting to see what was recorded. I sat in the kitchen. I wondered about Ryan. I wondered if I could do anything, if he was starting to have any severe alcohol withdrawal syndromes. I paced back and forth in front of the basement door. I wasn't sure if I should let him out, or if I should go down. Eventually he knew I was there, and he called out to me. He said I was going to wear a hole in the floor. Unprompted, Ryan admitted to cutting up his own mask. Then he said he saw Devin cut up mine, but in his dream. In turn, stupidly, Ryan told him he cut up Devin's mask in his dream. Too many dreams were coming true, Ryan said. He rambled on about the demon in the house. He said it was all too menacing to be a poltergeist, all too targeted. This was a spirit of malice, he proclaimed. He said it picked up and smashed all of his booze on him. Then he kept rambling. Maybe it wasn't a demon, he pondered. Maybe it was actually our dreams coming true. The will to leave, the pressures and strain of being cooped up inside too long was propelling an out-of-body, dream-mediated telekinesis. Maybe, he continued, most ghosts were actually some physical expression of the mental strain of somebody being trapped in some way. Maybe all it took was some kind of additional ambient energy for it all to manifest. Perhaps a transformer on the fritz. Perhaps the corona discharges, he speculated. I listened to him ramble on. His rambling became more panicky and forced. It was less conversational and more like he was being forced at gunpoint to talk. I didn't believe a word he said. I stayed there with my ear pressed against the door because I felt bad for him, and honestly because I didn't have much else to do. I was also really frightened. I didn't know what I had been seeing. I didn't know what was behind the tapestry. I didn't know how I could hear Ryan's keys jingle in the hallway when he couldn't find them the next day. And I certainly didn't know what was in the wood grain. I didn't know who could enter my room, enter my locked closet and cut up my mask, and then have it sealed all back up. I know when I recovered the video on the cell phone, it showed me the outline of something hazy in the room with Ryan, assaulting him, swirling in the room between the door and his bed. And when I slowed it down, the blur looked a lot like Devin, what he was wearing when he was asleep, when he emerged from his nap to come investigate when Ryan was trying to bolt out the door. I only knew somehow that I was safer here, near Ryan, than I was anywhere to be cornered by Devin. Ryan warned me that usually he had very vivid dreams when he had a few days off of drinking. To be continued in part 4.